Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are finishing our pre-training camp position discussion with the offensive line and the running backs. As you guys know, I don't like to hold you for long, so we'll get in, get out. I got a lot of information for you guys to digest. Specifically, again, the topic tonight, we're doing our position breakdowns. So I will be discussing the offensive line position and I'll be discussing the running back position. So I'll give you all the players that we currently have on the roster at each position of offensive line and running back. I'll give you my thoughts on who I think makes the team, who I think is a starter, and what their potential impact to be will be. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to everybody who's watching. As you guys know, this is an interactive show, so we are fueled by Fifth Quarter Nation. You guys can feel free to leave comments. You can ask questions. I don't charge you any stars. I don't have a super chat. You get in the comments. If it's not too many people, I'm gonna try to hit every question and comment. Let me know who you are, how long you've been watching, how long you've been a Cowboys fan, where you've been watching from, any thoughts about the topic tonight, or any thoughts about Cowboys topics in general. We are an open book at the Fifth Quarter Podcast. And I see we got Jeff Pop joining us. We definitely got 5 days till camp. So we got football finally coming back to us. No more having to generate conversations like this. We'll be able to talk about actual on-field activity in 5 short days. Before we get started on the show, I see we got quite a few people joining us from the DC4L Facebook group. So thank you guys for joining us. If you don't know, this podcast is the official podcast of the DC4L Facebook group. So for those of you who are watching, please make sure you hit that like button. Let's get those likes to match those views. And also for those of you who are watching from YouTube, thank you for joining us. I see we got my guy Chris Woods joining us tonight. Chris Woods, thank you for joining as always. So for those of you who are not watching from Facebook, when you get a chance, go over to Facebook, type in DC4L, join the DC4L Facebook group. We have a very active group of admin. So we monitor the chat consistently. We don't allow hate speech. We don't allow bullying. We just allow great football conversations about the Dallas Cowboys. We don't allow outside fans from other teams in there, so it's all Cowboys fans. So this is a safe space for you to talk and learn about the Dallas Cowboys. We have prizes, we have giveaways, we have contests. We also have fantasy football leagues. So if you think you're one of the tops in fantasy football, be sure to join the DC4L Facebook group. Join one of those groups, and you'll probably catch me in a couple of them. So you want to learn how to play some fantasy football or just compete against some top tier players, join the DC4L Facebook group. I appreciate that, Jeff Pop. I always appreciate your support. You've been with me through 2 different podcasts, so definitely been a long time viewer, and I appreciate it. For those of you watching from DC4L Facebook group, we also have a YouTube channel. So if you go over to YouTube and type in DC4L, if you could, please support the DC4L YouTube channel as well. Help them to get to 1,000 subscribers. And also, while you're on YouTube, you can find me at Bluff City Cowboys. Be sure to hit that bell. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. I have several fantasy football leagues that I host. I don't charge anything, and I do give away a cash prize. It's just my way of giving back to the people who support me, generate some dialogue during the year, let fans kind of interact with each other. So this is my 5th year hosting my fantasy football league. I think I may have 2 open spots. The prize is $100 to the winner. There's no entry fee. All you got to do is just let me know if you want to join. I have 2 open spots, so if any of my viewers would like to participate in that league, get in the comments or just send me a DM to let me know, and I'll get you locked in on that. We're starting it up right now, so we'll be doing our fantasy football draft in about a month but we want to make sure we fill all those spots before we get there. All right, Jeff Pop, I see you're in. Just send me a DM so that I can get you linked up and get you added to the Fantasy Football League. It's several podcasts in there. I've got Paul and Mike from the UK Cowboys. I got a couple of guys from the old Star Gang with BJ Nix. So Spoonie's in there with us. Then I got a couple of super fans in there as well, and then just some longtime viewers like Mendoza and Jeff. My old co-host from my other podcast, Lambo, is also in there too. So it's a lot of names you guys have recognized. It's a great place to just sit and talk Cowboys football. We're very active. We're very competitive. So if you want to learn or you want to go against the best, be sure to hit me up. Looks like Jeff Pop got one spot, so we have one more spot open. I see we got Ice Cold Cowboy joining us tonight. Thank you for joining. So once again, we're at 7 minutes. Like you guys know, I like to get you in and out. We try to keep it as close to an hour show as possible. So got any questions, any comments, get in the chat. I'll be sure to put them up there. But tonight's topic is offensive line and running back. So I'm going to go through all the positions. I'm going to talk about who we have, what expectations are, and who I think makes it and doesn't make it. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So first off, we'll start with the offensive line. I like to go inside out personally. When I think about offensive line, that's how I think about it. So we'll start off first with the center position. Now, if you guys have been watching the show for the past month or so, Gloria Gomez looks like a new name. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, we'll talk about left tackle in a minute, Ice Cold Cowboy. But let's start off at the center position. Now, if you guys have been following this show for the past month or so, I did an episode where I talked about the top 5 positions of need. Now, the fan base will say, well, corner's a position of need or linebacker. Personally, I don't think those are as big a position of need as this position right here, center. Now, when you say position of need, people just think, oh, well, we got Cooper Beebe, we should be good. I like to look at the backup position. I am terrified of our backup centers. So let's just go down the line. I know some of these names you guys probably don't even recognize, but we got Cooper Beebe, former 3rd round pick, going into his 3rd season, made a lot of strides as a rookie, took another step forward his 2nd year, and now he goes into his 3rd year as a center. Remember, Cooper Beebe did not play center in high school or college. He played center for the first time in the NFL. The fact that he's doing this good is a testament to the level of hard work and professionalism that he's putting up. Because like you said, he's decent. But if you factor in the fact that he didn't play center before he got in the NFL, he's doing a remarkable job. But my problem is, at the end of the day, I still think he's a guard playing center. While he's good enough to be a starter, I still think he's a better guard than center, but we're getting what we can out of him. So then let's go through the rest of the group. First off, the person projected on the depth chart right now to be the backup center is Trevor Keegan. Now, Trevor Keegan has been a career practice squad guy. He's another guy who started off at guard, and now he's coming here to try to convert to center. To me, that's a major red flag. Then we go down the line. We have Chris Glazer. He played in the UFL last year. Another guy was a career guard, transferred over to center about 2 years into the NFL, and he's been kind of going back and forth between center and guard. Last year he played guard in the UFL. Now he's coming to Dallas, and he's going to try to compete as a center guard. Again, we have 3 guys who are not lifelong centers. And then last but not least, we got TJ Bass. TJ Bass has never played center in an NFL game. He has been our backup guard this entire time. And now they're essentially asking him to step in at center. So basically, we have 4 guards and no centers. That's concerning to me because, like Ice Cold Cowboy said, we need BB to stay healthy. But if heaven forbid Cooper BB gets hurt again, who do we throw in at center? We had a legitimate center who we let walk in free agency, which made no sense to me. We should have just paid him the $2 to $3 million and had a reliable backup. But now we have to basically go through training camp with Keegan, Glazer, and Bass getting reps for the first time at the center position. And you have to hope that one of these guys shows you enough that you feel comfortable going into the regular season with them as the backup. Now, we did sign Matt Hennessy in the offseason, but unfortunately, he had a neck injury, had to go on IR. So that put us really behind the 8 ball at the center position. So now we've got a bunch of guys that we have to piece together and hope one of these guys can be successful. So this position really scares me going into training camp because, like I said, none of these guys have played in an actual NFL game as a center. They played UFL. They played in practice. TJ Bass played a little bit of preseason last year at center. But nobody, we're going into week 1 against the Giants. Heaven forbid something happens to Cooper BB. Now we have to go to loud, rowdy New York week 1, and possibly a backup center has to go against DJ Reader. That's not good for us at all. I see we got my guy Jeff joining us. Jeff, appreciate you joining us as always. Longtime viewer. Appreciate your support. Like Ice Cold Cowboy said, we should have kept Brock Hoffman. He gave us all the security that we needed as a backup center. We wouldn't have had to put Bass at center. We're already kind of depleted at guard, but now we got Bass doing double duty. It really sets us back. Yeah. If I were to do the top 5 positions of need on this team, I would put center over linebacker, defensive end, corner, all of them. The only position I may put center behind is slot receiver. I would probably put center number 1, to be honest, because I can, and I talked about this last week when I did the wide receiver position. I don't like Turpin as a slot guy, but if I needed him to be a slot guy, he can get in there and do something. I don't like Flanoy as a slot guy, but if I put him at slot, he can at least be productive. I don't know if I can put Keegan or Bass in at center. Can they get the ball to Dak? That's the first question. They've never played center before in a real game. They definitely don't know how to call protections. So now you have to rely on your guards to do the protection calls for them. So it really sets us back not having a center. And I don't want to sound like sky is falling, but this is a serious concern to me, not having a legitimate backup center on this team. We'll talk about running back in a second, Ice Cold Cowboy. Just stick with us. All right, so I've ranted enough about the center position. Let's move on to the interior. We can get a little bit more happy about this talk. So, in my opinion, this is probably the best position group on the team. I'm trying to think if I think it's better than defensive tackle. I would probably argue this is the best position group on the team, to be honest. I love all 4 guards that we have. I honestly think all 4 of the guards we have are legitimate NFL starters. We'll start from the top and work our way down. First of all, we got the anchor of the offensive line, uh, arguably the best player on the team, in Tyler Smith, blue chip player, perennial All-Pro, only 24 years old, still in his prime. Probably hasn't even reached his prime yet. He's the anchor of our offensive line, the most reliable player that we have. After that, we got the other Tyler, who's opposite him. We got Tyler Booker, first round draft pick, coming off his rookie season. Exceeded expectations, in my opinion. When the Cowboys made that pick, a lot of people, including myself, were kind of skeptical of it. But he's more than shown me that he's worthy of the position we took him at, and he's definitely on his way to being a Pro Bowl player. I wouldn't be shocked with the way our scheme looks and the way our offense looks if both of these guys don't make the Pro Bowl this year. Booker might not be the first guard, but I would be surprised if he's not the reserve. So our starting offensive guards are at an elite level. Then we go to the backups. And again, I just talked about TJ Bass. They got him penciled in as some center, but he's really a guard at heart. And in the snaps that he's played in both preseason and regular season, he's shown me he's a legitimate guard. Now, he won't be making a Pro Bowl anytime soon, but if I needed a guy to start for a game or two, I have no concerns about TJ Bass stepping in for a game or two and filling in and the drop-off not be significant. But he's definitely going to be the swing guard, possibly center guard. He's going to be a key piece on our second unit. Hopefully, we won't need him to fill in at center, and we pick up a guy or one of these other guys steps up. But Chris Woods, yeah, I agree with you. I think he'll be a Pro Bowler. I agree. Our offense should be elite for the second straight year. And once you have an offense that's really good, the voters start to really key in on key positions on that offense. So I think Tyler Booker's going to benefit from that. He's going to have a lot of tough matchups. I don't think he'll struggle. He's been in the weight room for a second year, so you really start to see that growth from players, especially on the interior of the line. Once they get in the weight room, their second year, they really break out. So I'm excited about his potential. Yeah, I'm with you, Jeff. He'll only grow. Last but not least, DJ Wingfield, a priority undrafted free agent. To me, the only reason he was undrafted is because the NIL landscape kind of screwed him over in college. He thought he had another year eligibility. He actually transferred to USC, and they were planning on him like being the guy on their offensive line. You can go look this up. He was going to be their guy as a tackle. Then it came out that he didn't have any more eligibility. So after the draft, he basically had to just try to find a job. And he didn't even play last year. And he still was able to get a job in Dallas. Now, he's 23 years old. He's smart. He plays with a nasty streak. He's going to move down to guard. I don't think he was athletic enough for tackle, but I think he's more than athletic enough for guard. So, yeah. I like DJ Wingfield a lot. I can't wait to see him in training camp and preseason because I feel like he's going to go out there and really step up from day one. So I really like our guard position. All right, I see everybody's getting excited about the tackle position in the comments. So we'll go ahead and go there. Jack Meeker, longtime viewer, thank you for joining us. Says he's going to have to get him a Booker jersey. Didn't realize his number was 68. That's your birth year. Actually, don't pay attention to the numbers, Jack Meeker. I made these slides with AI, and AI just sometimes throws a number in there. So don't go by this. His number's still 52. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the tackle position since I see that's where the conversation is going in the comments. And once again, for those of you who are watching, I see the views are still going up. I see we got X in the building quite a bit. For those of you watching on X, if you would like to get in the comments, please go over to YouTube, type in Bluff City Cowboy, hit that subscribe button, and let us know your thoughts. And if anybody's watching from YouTube, if you came from X, let me know, because I just like to keep track of who's joining us from X, who wants to get in the comments and join in on the conversation. Yeah, you're right, Jeff. Booker is 52. Don't go by the numbers on the screen. I just needed a body up there, and AI just took care of the rest. All right, let's get back into it. We are going to the tackle position next, and this is the position with the most contention. We really don't know who the day one starters are going to be, to be honest. We got a lot of guys with a lot of question marks. So just looking at the comments, let's see. Jeff thinks Nate Thomas will boot one of the tackles out of the starting five. Jeff popped back and up saying got to be more athletic than Guyton. Let's see. Ice Cold Cowboy saying Guyton just not adapting to left tackle from right tackle. Big problem for Dak. All of you guys' comments are correct. Yeah, our tackles are definitely rough. This is one of the biggest question marks on our team. Let's start left to right. First of all, the projected starter, Tyler Guyton, former first-round pick, been in the league for going on his third season. First two seasons were inconsistent at best. He showed us very few positives, a whole lot of negatives. Going from college being a right tackle, transitioning to left tackle. He has all the traits. He's 6'7", long arms, strong. He just hasn't put it together yet. So like I talked about before with Cooper Beebe, when you have an offensive lineman in particular, it normally takes them 3 years for the light to come on because you haven't played this level of competition. You're not NFL strong, for 2. And for 3, for him, he's changing positions. So this is going to be a very important year for Tyler Guyton because next year is his contract year, and they have to decide by April if they want to give him the 5th year option. So they have to decide that going into his last contract year. So this year is going to be important for him. Do they give him the 5th year option, or do they let him play out his 4th year and then try to figure it out then? So he needs to see a lot of growth in order to secure his bag. We have questions about whether or not he'll be the starter. And if he stays at left tackle, just like Ice Cold Cowboy said and Jeff said, he should be a right tackle. That's his natural position. I agree with you guys. But the problem is we have Terrence Steele at right tackle, and he definitely can't play left tackle. So if you move Tyler Guyton to left, that means you have to either cut, trade, or bench Terrence Steele. So let's talk about Terrence Steele for a second. Another guy who's been inconsistent. Now, he came in as an undrafted player and had to start from the jump. So he was thrown into the fire immediately. I give him a pass for his rookie year, all the Terrence Aluminum talk. Year 2, he comes back, plays solid, gets injured. Okay. Year 3, he looks really good, surprisingly. And then last year, it's a lot of inconsistencies. Again, more bad than good. So now we're in year 5 and we signed him to an extension, and the money's only going to get bigger after this year. So we're at a point where we're not this year, but next year we'll be at a point where we can use his money for some cap savings. So we need to figure out what we're going to do there. In the run game, he definitely shows flashes, but this is a passing league, and he needs to show us that he can hold up on that end as well. That's a good analogy, Jeff Pop. 1 game All-Pro, 1 game UFL player. Because when he's good, he can be really good. But when he's bad, it's awful. And it's a lot of bad. So now we got the 2 young guys who are trying to step up and get a spot. Nate Thomas is entering Jack Meeker. I see your comment. We'll get to that in a second. I got another screen for the tackles. So yeah, we'll talk about that. So next up, we got Nate Thomas, another guy who was a late round draft pick from 2024. 2024, he got hurt, missed the whole season. Last year, came back, looked really good in the preseason. Actually started a couple of games in the regular season. Had 2 really good games and 1 bad game. So there's a little bit of inconsistency there. But what he does really well. He's a dog out there on the court, on the field. He's physical. He plays fearless. And he does get beat with athleticism, but he's scrappy enough that he can fight through it. So he's the type of guy where, and this is just my opinion, unless Nate Thomas is playing against like a freak athlete at defensive end, he's going to beat the defensive end in front of him. So you put him against a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby or one of these super athletic defensive ends, they're going to give him problems. But if he's playing against an average to above average defensive end, he's going to put them in a dogfight that they're not ready for. I think he has a really good shot of taking that left tackle spot this year, to be honest. Before we talk about Johnny Cornelius, let me ask you guys this question, because I see everybody's kind of going in different directions. Let's say Nate Thomas takes a starting spot. Doesn't matter which one. Who would you rather see be the swing tackle, which is the 3rd tackle? Would you rather Guyton be the swing tackle, or would you rather Terrence Steele be the swing tackle? You can't cut him. You can't trade him because nobody wants them. They have to stay on the roster. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you had to choose one of those guys to go to the bench between Tyler Guyton and Terrence Steele, which one do you want to go to the bench? I'll wait for the comments to come up and then I'll read a few up here. Yeah, I agree. I think he's hungry. Again, I talked about this with Tyler Guyton. I talked about this with Cooper Beebe. Nate Thomas is going into his 3rd year. So he's gotten some experience. He's gotten his NFL strength. He's worked on his technique. Now we start to see it all come together. So it's definitely going to be a competition in training camp. Schottenheimer came out early in OTAs and said that there's going to be a serious competition between Guyton and Thomas. That lets me know that he's seen some behind the scenes improvement in Nate Thomas that make you think he's ready to compete. All right, so it's a little bit split. Jeff Pop says he wants to see Steele on the bench. Ice Cold Cowboy says Tyler Guyton at right tackle only. Jack Meeker says Guyton has the chops for both. Jeff wants to put Guyton on the bench. And Ice Cold Cowboy wants to put Steele at the bench. So it's pretty split. So you're basically telling me we don't have a starting tackle. If you guys are split on which one you think should be benched, that means Both of them should technically be benched. Unfortunately, there aren't any quality tackles on free agency. So we're gonna have to hope that Nate Thomas can step up, and then we just protect the other one that's starting. All right, let's get back to it. Last position, Johnny Cornelius, late round draft pick from last year. To be honest, I didn't understand the pick. I didn't think he was athletic enough. I thought he was a big guard. Played in preseason and really surprised me by how well he transitioned. He actually started a couple of games. He wasn't going against like NFL starters, but he was going against quality backups. He looked solid. Going into year 2, I would be shocked if he improves enough to overcome Thomas, Steele, or Guyton. But if the coaches are just fed up with Steele or Guyton, I wouldn't be shocked to see a Johnny get a start or opportunity to start. So for him, I think it's more about how bad Steele or Guyton look than how good he performs. Jeff says no way they put Steele in that salary on the bench. I agree to an extent. One thing I will say, Jeff, but trust me, 1,000% agree with what you said. They are not known for letting money ride on the bench. But what I will say is this coaching staff is a little bit different. It seems like Jerry's been a little bit more hands off and he's letting the coaches kind of run things. Jerry hasn't been out in the media in the past 7-8 months. Most of our quotes are coming from Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams on the offense. So typically when Jerry's the one calling the shots, if you're a high-paid player or you're a big name, you're going on the field. But I can see a situation where Schottenheimer's preaching competition. And if Steele isn't winning the competition, there's a slim chance that Steele could be the one on the bench. Let me just check out Terrence Steele's contract real quick. Just to give us some reference, okay? Terrence Steele, he is on the first year of a 3-year extension. His cap hit. Oh, he has a lot of dead cap. Didn't realize that. They must have restructured. Forgot about that. Okay. He has a lot of dead cap. So looking at this, Terrence Steele isn't going anywhere for the next 2 years, unfortunately. His dead cap this year is $34 million. That means if they cut him, $34 million immediately comes on the cap. His cap hit is only $8 million, so he's not getting traded or cut this year. No chance. Next year, his dead cap is $25 million. His cap hit is $15 million. I'm trying to see. Yeah. Terrence Steele is here for the next 2 years, unfortunately. I'm just looking at the dead cap. I would be shocked if they let him go next year. Unless some team came in and traded and absorbed his contract. But yeah, he's definitely here this year. Let's see. Jeff says I would bring in Taylor Decker to compete. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't know if he has anything in the tank, though, honestly. At that point, to me, just bringing in a name, and he's another guy that you hope can be consistent. He hasn't looked good in 2 years, to be honest. That's a good name, though, Jeff. I like the outside of the box thinking. Jack Meeker backing Jeff up, saying Decker has been floating out there in the smoke, but no fire around. Yeah, we can't trade Terrence Steele this year. I'm looking at the contract. There's no way he can be traded. So he's here definitely this year, possibly next year as well. Steele to the Steelers. I mean, they do have the coach that drafted him and Mike McCarthy. I wouldn't be shocked to see a couple of our guys go to Pittsburgh in the next year or so. Yeah, he's a good run blocker. I agree, Chris Woods. But the name of the game is pass blocking. And he just falls off when it comes to that. If we had more consistency at left tackle, you'd be able to send more help to the right side. I think that's our biggest problem with Terrence Steele. So if we had somebody at the left side who could step up and kind of hold their own, then you can put Tyler Guyton or Terrence Steele at right tackle. Keep that tight end over there. Let him chip on his way to his routes and give him a little bit of help. We did Chris Woods. We're about to get to that. Jack Meeker asked a question about who's the free agent who was a Cardinal. I think you're thinking about Will Hernandez, but he plays guard. So that wouldn't really help us at this point. And yeah, Will Hernandez is still a free agent. I would love to see him come here at some point, but I think we're pretty set at guard. Our real problem is at center. Now, if they decide they want to put TJ Bass as full-time backup center because he's shown enough, then I definitely bring in Will Hernandez. Jeff Pop makes a great point. Run game is secondary to our offense runs through Dak. Pass blocking is where it's at. We'll talk about the running back position in a minute to talk about that as well. All right, let's go back into our offensive line talk. We'll go to our last position. So we talked about the guys who are projected to be the starters. Let's talk about some of these young backups, these draft picks from this year. So first of all, there were a couple of people who asked about Drew Shelton. I'm trying to find the comment. I think it was. I know Chris Woods just put a comment up. So Chris Woods asked about, didn't we draft the Penn State rookie? Somebody else made a comment about, I think it was Jeff Pop. Oh, it was Jack Meeker. Do you even consider Drew Shelton this year? In my opinion, Jack Meeker, I said this when he was drafted. I think from a trait standpoint, Drew Shelton may be our best tackle. I mean, he has long arms. He has great feet, amazing vision, and he's really good at getting to the second level. And when you have the type of run game that we have, where you like to pull tackles and trap tackles and get guys at the second level blocking, more of a inside zone where you double team the defensive tackles to get up to the linebackers, Drew Shelton is amazing at that. The problem Drew Shelton has is strength. Now, this is a problem that most rookies have, but to me, he has a bigger problem than most. I don't think he's strong enough to hold up to NFL tackles or ends yet. Now, if you need a guy who can shuffle his feet and get in front of a guy, he can do that. My concern is when he plays against a guy who bull rushes him or a guy who can get into his chest. He's going to have a problem anchoring down and stopping them from running him over. But the potential is there. Great feet. Amazing feet. Long arms. Understands hand usage. Very athletic for a tackle. Knows how to get to the second level. If his strength can hold up, I think he has a legitimate chance of competing for a spot. Jack Meeker, he's 1,000% a left tackle. He's not playing right tackle. He's not built for right tackle. He's a left tackle guy. So this is another guy that's probably going to get kind of thrown into the hat to compete. Yeah. Played in the Big Ten, only allowed 1 sack last year. The guy's talented. Now remember, Big Ten, Ohio State, Arvell Reese. He saw some guys. The Big Ten is deep right now. He saw the Michigan guys. He probably played against Barham. He played against Oregon, USC. Yeah, the guy has all the talent, and he looked really good in college. He just looks bad against strength. And I don't think one offseason is enough to fix that problem. Now, his other traits could be good enough to hide it, but I don't think so. But I'm excited to see what he does in training camp. The next guy is Shy-Ass Pete. And of course, this is not the picture of Shy-Ass Pete. Shy-Ass Pete is a massive tackle. I think he's like 6'8". Great size. He looks like a statue in space. I don't think he has a shot of making his team. He's just not athletic enough. And you can't get away with just being tall with long arms. Well, good point, Jeff Pop. They run a lot. That does kind of protect him. But he looks really good in the run game. He's great at getting to the second level. But that does protect him in the pass game because he doesn't have to really pass block a lot. And they had 2 really good running backs at Penn State last year as well. So that helped also. I don't think Pete makes the team. He'll be lucky if he can make it to the practice squad. It's a good story. First Native American. He's going to make a good sound bite. Smart kid. Very composed in press conferences and answering questions. But I think that's pretty much where it stops at. I think he's going to get exposed. If you look at the type of defensive ends that we brought in, you may not like the names, but they all have one thing in common. They're all athletic. They're all 4-5 runners. They all like to bend the edge. Pete will not know how to handle any defensive end we have because he is so clumsy and unathletic. Yeah, absolutely, Jack Meeker. I'm waiting for that second year for Drew Shelton. Second year, I expect to see him take somebody's spot. This year, I think he has a slim chance, but I wouldn't bet the house on it. But second year, absolutely. All right, so we'll talk about our third tackle. He's a journeyman guy, Marcellus Johnson. I'm sure you guys have never heard of him. I haven't either. Looked him up. He's been kind of a career practice squad guy. Nothing really special to talk about. He's played on a couple teams, so he has some experience. He's going to be a good guy for practice. Maybe he can make a spot on special teams. Outside of that, I don't see him having any impact. So Marcellus Johnson, I think at best he can hope to try to get a practice squad spot for the 3rd or 4th straight year. So that's pretty much all I have with the tackles. Like I said last week, most teams only carry 9 tackles. They only carry 9 offensive linemen. So if you think about the 5 starters, and let's just pencil in Guyton and Steele as the starters. If you pencil in Guyton and Steele as your starters, you got Guyton, Steele, Booker, BB, Smith. Those are your 5. You only have 4 more spots left. You got to have a backup center, whoever that is. TJ Bass, I think, is a definite player on this team. I think Drew Shelton is definitely going to make this team. That's 3. That only leaves 1 spot left. Personally, I think DJ Wingfield gets that spot, but you never know, because then you got Nate Thomas, and let's see, who else have I missed? Because you still got Nate Thomas, you still got a Johnny Cornelius. Yeah. So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm concerned about DJ Wingfield. Unless they keep 10 offensive linemen. There's a chance they keep 10, but then they will have to go short somewhere else. And that's kind of like the same conversation I had last week about wide receiver, where you got 5 wide receivers. You want to keep that 6th one, but if you do, you got to go short somewhere. So let me just pose the question. I'll wait to the end of the show, and then I'll pose this question. Nate Thomas stays, I agree. Jeff has Thomas and Steele as the starters. I see we got Stephen White joining us, longtime viewer. Appreciate you joining us as well. Jeff Pop, you're right. You always have training camp cuts. There may be a guy that we like that we consider picking up. All right, we're at 47 minutes. Let's talk about the running back position. We don't have a lot of players, so it's going to be fairly short. But let's get into it. All right. We'll start off with our starters. Javonte Williams, 3-down back, Pro Bowl player, true bell cow, physical, great in the running game, solid in the pass game, great at pass blocking. He gives you everything you need from a starting running back. He can run between the tackles. He can be a home run guy if you need him to. And he just does everything well. We still have those injury concerns we have to consider. I think we got lucky last year, but before last year, he dealt with an injury every season of his career. Now, will lightning strike twice and we have a second healthy season from him? Or will there be a regression or an injury? All right, Jeff already going with the bold prediction. Next up, we got Hunter Lepke. And I don't call him a fullback. I call him a utility back, because he plays fullback, he plays tight end, he's your short yardage back as a running back, and he's a core special team player. Now, that last one, Jeff, is what makes me think he'll be here. Actually, those last two. Because when Javonte Williams had to sit out a few reps, Hunter Lepke got a lot of those running back snaps last year. He wasn't just a 3rd and 1 back. They put him in some situations, and he was catching the ball out of the backfield. He was great at blocking. I think he makes the team. I have to disagree with you on that one. I'm with you on that, though. That Miami fumble was heartbreaking, but he does everything else. And again, he's our most seasoned running back on this team. And I think the coaching staff likes him. I think the special team coach really likes him. So that's going to make him a hard cut. And he's cheap. Now, what I will say, Jeff, where I give you credit for this, there aren't a lot of teams that value fullbacks. So we talked about this last week with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Let's say you're at a point where you need to hold on to a guy for a week, or you need to hold a guy so you can put him on the pup list. I think Hunter Lepke will be one of those guys where you would cut him, tell him to go home for 24 hours, don't answer the phone, and we'll bring you back either tomorrow or next week. I can see that as an option. I could even see him coming to the practice squad for a week or two. But I think he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy next year. Now, he's the type of guy you can play those games with because he's a veteran and he plays a position that's not a position of need. And I think he likes it here. And I think the coaches like him here. So I can see him being cut at the final cuts. But I don't think he'll be gone. But yeah, when we start to play those games, like let's say somebody has to go on the pup list, or you got to carry Charles Snowden on the roster before you can put him on the suspension list. I think you can do it, Stephen White. That doesn't mean he's gone. But he's a fullback. There's only 3 teams in the NFL that value a fullback, and they both have really good ones. So they wouldn't have a need to pick up Hunter Lepke if you did cut him for a day. So I think both of these guys are both pretty much set to be on this roster. Now, let's talk about the backups. And I've seen quite a few people saying we don't have a running back 2. Ice Cold Cowboy said Williams hasn't stayed healthy in his short career. Let's see. Ice Cold Cowboy, most teams have a hammer running back and a solid backup. Jones playing games, betting on Williams can handle everything. I agree with that. So let's talk about these other running backs. Who can take the reins on the number 2 position? These are our current candidates for number 2. And I just have them listed based off of the depth chart. So we'll start off number 1, Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue, 2025 draft pick, coming out of Texas. Explosiveness is the name of his game. He's probably one of the most explosive players on this team, not just at the running back position. If he gets an opportunity, he can be electric. Unfortunately, he didn't get a lot of opportunities last year. And from what we've heard, it's mostly his fault. Either not being a professional or not catching on as an NFL running back. He was a healthy scratch most of the year. When you're a draft pick on a team that was as depleted as this one, to be a healthy scratch is a concern to me. But running back is the one position, in my opinion, where raw talent can get you to success. So if the traits, good point, Jeff Pop, the Gucci cleats hurt his feet. So if he can put it together on the field, he has an opportunity to be the running back 2. My problem is, can he pass block? And can he follow blocks consistently? And can he stay healthy? It's a lot of concerns. But as of right now, he's at the top of the list. Next on the list is Phil Maffa. Had a very impressive training camp, an impressive preseason last year. Ended up going on IR. I think he missed all but 3 games. And of those 3 games, he only got snaps in 1. So we really don't know what Phil Maffa is. We can all look back at 2025 preseason and say, maybe it translates. He definitely has the height, weight, speed. He's a physical runner, but we didn't see it against real competition. So yeah, I think he looks the part the most as the guy who can take that spot. But as of right now, just looking at the depth chart, they have Jaden Blue kind of positioned with the first chance. And then last but not least, and yeah, great point. Blue does look like he could get bigger. He did get bigger. We'll see when the pads come out. If he got bigger and he kept that explosiveness, he has a better chance. But he still has to pass block. All right. Last but not least, Malik Davis has been a career practice squad player. He does enough to stay on the team, but not enough to keep a spot. Played in limited opportunities last year, had a couple of big plays. But just like Jaden Blue, a little bit undersized while not being as explosive. He does everything decent. I can't even say well. I can't even say good. He does everything decent enough to keep a spot. Is that enough to make him the backup running back for the Dallas Cowboys? Personally, I don't think so. But yeah, like Ice Cold Cowboy says, he has talent, just not running back to talent. So yeah, this one's gonna be a very interesting. And I got your question, Mark, for the end of the show, Jeff. Ice Cold Cowboy saying Maffa has that bulldozer in him. We definitely saw it in spurts in preseason last year. Yeah, Davis is decent. That's a good word, decent. But it's decent enough to give the guy the number 2 running back position for the Dallas Cowboys. Personally, I don't think it is. But he's been hanging around forever. All right, we got one more slide with running backs. Then we'll go to Jeff's question, then we'll get out of here. So we talked about the starters. We talked about the guys competing for backups. All right, give me 1 second. I'm missing one of my slides. I gotta upload it. But yeah, in the comments, while I look for this, everybody watching, let me know, of the 3 guys that are on the screen right now, who do you think has the best chance of getting the number 2 running back spot? If I were a betting man right now, personally, I would probably go with Maffa. But I hate to have to extrapolate from 2 preseason games to say that he has the chance to be the backup running back for the Dallas Cowboys. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Who do you think of these 3 guys on the screen has the best shot of being the running back 2? All right, Jack Meeker says Blue. Jeff Pop says Blue just by draft position. Okay, so let's talk about the unknowns. Ice Cold Cowboy says Blue as well. Let's talk about the unknowns now. We've got 2 unknowns. The first one is Israel Abanikanda, who's known as Izzy. He was one of my favorites coming out of the draft in 2023. 4th round pick of the Jets. Height, weight, speed, everything you want from a running back. Enrique Madrigal looks like a new name. Thank you for joining us from YouTube. While you're there, Enrique, please hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so that you can come back and join us again for a future show. Let's see. Davis has been available. Well, he hasn't been playing, but he's been available. Jeff has Phil Maffa. Blue will be running back 3. Jeff Pop says can't say his name. He's gone. We'll just call him Izzy. We won't go by the last name. But he looks like Javonte Williams. He's 5'11", 225, physical bruising style. Now, this is me being biased because I liked him as a running back coming out of college. I personally think that he was hurt by the teams that he went to. And what I mean by that is he started off going to the Jets. For some strange reason, the Jets draft Izzy the same year they draft their starting running back right now. So he's definitely not getting a shot that year. Then the Jets double down and take another running back in the 4th round the following year in Braylon Allen. So now you've got Breece Hall, who's a beast. You got Braylon Allen, who's a beast. And then you got Izzy, who I think is a good player, good enough to be on an NFL team. But behind those two guys, he's not touching the field. So I think that hurts him. Then, because you come from the Jets, you're automatically tainted. And nobody really wants to touch you. So he has to go to the Niners. And the Niners trade for Christian McCaffrey while already having 2 very solid running backs on their team. They drafted, I think it was Isaac Guerendo. So they got McCaffrey, Guerendo, and then they have another guy whose name escapes me. So now Izzy's there. And then last year, they trade for Brian Robinson. So now he's at the Niners behind McCaffrey, Brian Robinson, Guerendo, who's a former 2nd, 3rd round pick, and another running back who's really solid. There either. So eventually he gets cut and now he's in Dallas. So in my opinion, he's never been given a chance to really compete. This is the first time that he's having a chance to compete for a running back spot. And he has the traits. And surprisingly, he's been in the NFL for 3 years. He's only 2 weeks older than Phil Maffa and a month and a half older than Jaden Blue. So you've got a guy who's been in the league for 3 years. Thank you, Jeff. They had Jordan Mason. So, yeah, there's no shot he touches the field in San Francisco. So, you've got Izzy. He has all the traits. He has 3 years of NFL experience, and he's the same age as 2 guys you drafted as rookies last year. He has a legitimate shot if he can compete. Now, I say all that, I got to give you the negative. And somebody said it, Stephen White. He runs straight up, but he runs a 4.4 at 220 pounds straight up. So he takes a lot of hits when he runs, the few times I've seen him, because of his running style. But he definitely knows how to run the ball well. I don't think he's the best pass catcher. I think he can run block. I don't think he's the best pass catcher. So that's gonna cause them some issues. Because Javonte's a pass catcher, Jaden Blue's a pass catcher, Malik Davis is a pass catcher, and Phil Maffa, I wouldn't call him a pass catcher, but he does it enough. I don't think Izzy can catch the ball at all. So that's gonna hurt him. Do they value pass catchers more than run blocking? That's going to be the question. Or just natural running backs in general. But you got to put his name in the competition. Jeff Pop says, so honestly, are we going to pass about 60%? I mean, we talked about this last week, Jeff Pop. I don't know if you were here. When your wide receivers are George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, you're going to pass the ball. Because those guys are too good not to pass the ball. That's the biggest mismatch you have on your team. Now, some people are old school and say, well, we should be 50-50. But when you got 2 all-pro caliber guys on your offense, you got to get them the ball at the detriment of the other positions. Let's see. Yeah, I think he got a raw deal also. He chose to go to the Niners, but in his defense, he didn't know they were trading for Christian McCaffrey. He didn't know they would eventually sign Brian Robinson. And the Niners are just terrible at drafting. If you go back and look at their draft history under their GM, they've been making some stupid second and third round draft picks. And I think it's just catching up to them and letting guys with talent go. Ice Cold Cowboy saying Maffa's big as a Mack truck. Let's see. Just going through the comments. Yeah, Dak's definitely going to pass that. Jeff saying, watching them against Syracuse, you got to support Maffa. Who is Jake? Oh, you talking about Jake Ferguson. Yeah, I'm just talking about the receivers. Okay. So, Stephen White saying Dak looking for 5,000 passing. Again, I don't think Dak's looking for it. I think if you have two receivers that are capable of getting 2,600 yards total, you almost have to pass it to him. Because if I can look at, and I love Javonte Williams. If you guys watched the show last year, you know I was all aboard on that. But if I got Javonte Williams in the backfield and I'm playing against the Giants week 1, and I look out at the Giants secondary and I see their starting cornerback is Emmanuel Forbes, who was cut by the Commanders at outside, and then I look at the slot and I see CeeDee Lamb being guarded by a nickelback who's 5'8", I think I'm going to take my chances with those two guys. And that's not saying anything wrong about the running backs. It's just you got to look at the matchups. All right. We got Hoodie Kush. Looks like a new name. So Hoodie Kush, thank you for joining us. I see the Cowboys decal, so you must be a podcaster. So thank you for taking some time out to check us out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button while you're there, and hopefully we can connect soon. Jeff says, I think that's why they think Javonte will be fine. He won't be running as much. Just keep the defense honest. I agree. I'm right there with you. I think this is probably George Pickens' last year. You got to see what you got in him. You got to get that you got to get that hype up so that you can get some draft picks or whatever you're going to do with him. Or he's going to try to make his money. Absolutely. All right, let's go to our last slide. Again, we just talked about Izzy, and then we got the question mark. The free agent running back position. This is probably one of the deeper free agent markets we've had at running back in 10 years. Let me just go through a couple of names for you guys. You've been kind of rattling off quite a few throughout the show. So let's go through the free agent running backs. First of all, we have Joe Mixon. I mean, he's injured, but he's only 29 years old. Even on one leg, he's probably better than a few guys that we have. You got Najee Harris, bell cow type guy in the mold of Javonte Williams. You got Austin Eckler, a little long in the tooth, but had a really good year with Washington last year. You still got Nick Chubb, another guy that's long in the tooth. But if you're Dallas and you only need a running back to give you 4 carries a game, there may not be a better running back than Nick Chubb that you asked to do that with. Kareem Hunt is a free agent. Let's see. Cam Akers, a guy that I've always liked as a player. Raheem Mostert, another guy, a little long in the tooth, but still got that 4.4 speed. Had a really good season in Miami before he went to the black hole of the Raiders last year. So there are some guys out there that you can take who could fill in that running back spot. And again, we're going to pass the ball a lot. Javonte Williams is still a bell cow. You really only need a guy to fill in 1 or 2 games or give you a consistent 5 rushes a game. So I'll take one of these older guys to fill that backup spot. But I know there's a bit of contention in Cowboys media with several podcasters and content creators about, should we take the running back now or should we wait? Personally, I think we can wait on running back. Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, even Antonio Gibson. Those guys are not going to be on the team in the next month. So on top of that, there's like 8 guys who could come here who are veterans who could fill in. So you don't have to rush to sign a guy tomorrow. Let's go through camp. Let's give the young guys as many opportunities to get reps. And then week 3 of training camp, week 3 of preseason, week 4 of preseason, week 3 of preseason, you bring in Antonio Gibson or Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt just to let them practice. You don't have to give a running back a full playbook to digest. If you watch NFL games closely, you'll notice probably 50% of the time, the quarterback is feeding the running back plays. So 9 times out of 10, if you bring in a guy off the street who's a professional, quarterback calls the play right before they get to the ball, turn to the running back, hey, hit the B gap on the left side, pass block, watch the B gap to outside pass rush, run a flat route. That's all they have to do. It's not complicated to pay running back. You don't have to bring in a guy right now to get him ready for the regular season if he's a veteran. You just got to hope he's in shape, and most of these guys are going to stay in shape. Ice Cold Cowboy already going into the draft saying we're drafting Lacey. Yeah. Najee and Chubb, those are my 2 options. I see your other comment too, Jeff. I'll get to that one as well. Jack Mika, I'm with you. I'll wait till week 2 of the regular season. Bring in a running back after week 1. Give these young guys week 1 to see if the lights are too bright for them. To be honest, I hate to be cocky. I don't think we have a chance of losing against the Giants. Let Blue and Maffa be the backup running backs that week. As long as they don't fumble the ball and cost us some turnovers, we shouldn't lose that game. So now you get to evaluate them in a real game. If they look like trash, let's call up Nick Chubb sitting on the couch and say, hey, you want to come in and play with the Cowboys week 2? Go ahead and do it. I'm not concerned about that. I don't have to have Najee Harris or Austin Eckler in training camp next week. They're 7-year vets. They know how to run the ball. They know how to pass block. That's all I need from them. So, yeah, let the young guys figure it out. And then if we have to bring in a veteran, let's bring a veteran in. Now, before we end the show, Jeff, I saw your 2 questions, and I'll get to those. But let's get back to the comments again. We talked about the running back position. You guys talked about which running back you think will be the number 2 guy. Let's assume we talked about offensive line. We have 5 starters. Then we have Nate Thomas, Johnny Cornelius, Drew Shelton, who was drafted, and then DJ Winfield. Let me take that back. We have 5 starters. Then on the bench, we have TJ Bass. We have Nate Thomas. we have a Johnny Cornelius, and we have Drew Shelton. So we have 9 offensive linemen who are pretty much secure the spot. But we have a couple of other guys who have some talent. So if we keep 10 offensive linemen, we have to go short somewhere. And I think the spot we go short in will be running back. With that being said, which running back do you think doesn't make the roster? Let me know in the comments. We're only keeping 4 running backs. Who are those 4 guys? We went through 6 of them. So 2 of them are going to get cut. Who do you guys think are the 2 that get cut? Is it Blue, Maffa, Davis, Lepke, or Izzy? Who are the 2 that get cut? Let me know in the comments what you think. Ice Cold Cowboy said Chubb on the couch eating potato chips waiting for their call. Absolutely. I could tell you right now, if I'm Nick Chubb, I'm not taking a single snap of training camp, because with my injury concern, I'm not going to risk getting hurt when I don't have any money coming in my pocket. I'm saving every rep I got for when the dollars count. Because in training camp and preseason, everybody in the NFL, whether you're Dak Prescott, whether you're the 53rd guy on the roster, you're all making $2,000 a week. If I'm Nick Chubb, I'm not touching the field until the contract has 6 or 7 figures in it, and my paycheck is going to be 5 figures every week. So that's one guy I definitely don't see touching a ball on an NFL field until week 1 or 2. So to me, that's my number 1 guy, because I know he doesn't want that phone call right now, and I know he'll be ready. All right. Jack Meeker says Davis and Izzy both get cut. Stephen White says tuck Izzy in the practice squad. I don't think that's a problem. Jeff really doesn't like Hunter Lepke, so he has Davis and Lepke as his 2 guys getting cut. But yeah, we'll see at camp. This is all just speculation. Okay. So Jeff, I got a question for you, and then I'll put your 2 questions up. So let's say you go through training camp, and I know this is a lot because we haven't seen anything. Let's say you go through training camp, Davis and Lepke both get cut. So you're going into the regular season with Williams, Blue, and Maffa. Let's say Najee Harris says, I'll come and play for Dallas for $2 million. Which one of those guys do you cut at that point? Because if you got Javonte Williams and you got Najee Harris, you don't need 2 more running backs. Which one of those guys gets cut thin between Blue and Maffa? I'm just curious, and then I go to your 2 questions, and then we'll get out of here. Let's see, did Jeff comment? Stephen White saying I'll take Hunter over all of them. I think for special team purposes and just for utility back purposes, I agree with you. Because if you go short at tight end, Lepke can fill in at tight end. He's going to be a core special teamer. He can give you some running back snaps. Jeff says Hunter can be brought back. That's true if you keep Hunter on the practice squad. All right, Jeff asked a couple of questions. We'll go through those, and then we'll get out of here tonight. First question is, would you take draft picks or George Pickens? Jeff, clarify that. Do you mean this year or next year? Because my answer changes depending on which season you're talking about. And while you answer that question, we'll go to your other question. Which Cowboy gets the mysterious injury this year to keep them around? Off the top of my head, because of what we just said about offensive line, I would probably say DJ Wingfield would be at the top of my list, because I think he's a guy they really like, but I don't think they have the spot to keep him. I think any position I think any player I think of is probably going to be offensive line because I would back that up with a Johnny Cornelius as my second guy. And I say that because if you've got Guyton, Steele, Thomas, and Shelton, you don't need 5 tackles. And I don't think they would do it to Shelton because I feel like they need him to get reps because his problem is strength. They definitely won't do it to Nate Thomas because I think he's competing for a starting spot. So if you got 5 tackles, I think a Johnny Cornelius is the guy that you want to keep around, but you don't have room for him, and you've got decent options in front of him. So between a Johnny Cornelius and DJ Wingfield, I think that's our mysterious injury guy for the year. Now, if I go to defense, I could definitely see Zion Childress as a guy. I could see, I don't know which corner, but I could see maybe a Kalen Carson being the guy. Outside of those 4, I don't see anybody else, but those are my top 4 options. Let's see. In my scenario, Jeff says Maffa would get cut. Jeff doesn't like special team. Jeff doesn't like fullbacks. Okay. Yeah. I definitely corner will be on the list too. Like I said, I don't know if it'll be Carson or not, but I think a corner is that injury cut because we're so deep at corner, and we've got a lot of guys that the coaching staff haven't had a chance to look at. That'll definitely be an option. Ice Cold Cowboy saying Kalen Carson won't even make the team. We'll see. I think he'll surprise some people. Let's see. So Jeff says draft picks for Pickens, but answer both ways this year and next year. This year, I'm not taking a draft pick for George Pickens. This is a short window year. You don't want to regress. We don't have an option in place. And George Pickens is going to play to prove that he deserves a top 5 contract. I want all 17 games of that. But next year, I would absolutely take draft picks for George Pickens. But I would have a caveat of I need to see what Flournoy does, and we would definitely have to bring in another receiver. Whether it be free agency and or draft. So if Pickens balls out this year like I think he will, and we franchise tag him again, I'm doing the non-exclusive. And I'm taking on all comers. I think the reason Pickens hasn't got any offers this year is because nobody knows what he is. And I know fans can speculate. He had a good year in Dallas last year. But if you go look at Pittsburgh, it was below average. I love George Pickens. I think he's one of the most explosive players in the league. But NFL teams need a little bit more time. And if he bags up last year and does it again this year, he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL. And there will be teams lined up to give up 2 first-round picks for him next year. So this year, I'm not taking a draft pick for him. Even if somebody offered us 2 first, I'm still going to say no because I need him to help us get as far as we can this year so we can build and leave on a positive note. And then next year, I'll take what I can get. And then next year's a really good wide receiver draft. We should be able to have the draft capital to pretty much get whatever we want if we traded George Pickens. So if we have a pick and we get 2 picks for Pickens, we'll have 2 picks in next year's draft. We can move up or down. There's probably 4 or 5 wide receivers in next year's draft who are worthy of being first round picks. So if I still have CeeDee Lamb, who I think is all world, and I can pair him with one of the 4 receivers in next year's draft, it's a drop off from Pickens, but I think it's enough to still keep us rocking and rolling. Josh Downs, that's a solid name. Put him back with his brother. Have 2 brothers on the same team. So that would be an option. But there's going to be some receivers in free agency next year. And no, Brandon Ayuk isn't one of them. But there's going to be some solid receivers next year who will be looking for paydays. And if George Pickens leaves here, there'll be second-tier guys who will be open to come to this team. Stephen White says George Pickens keeps his star. He likes it here. He wants a team home. He loves football. I'm keeping him. I like him too. But I think next year, I think the number is going to be ridiculous. Because I'll say this and then we'll get out of here unless somebody else has another question. And this answers your question, Jeff, what I'm about to say. Even with the cap going up, let's look at the contracts as of right now at the wide receiver position. So, as of right now, the highest paid wide receiver in NFL is Jackson Smith and Jigba at $42 million. Okay. We all know that at some point, Puka Nacua is going to sign a contract. And his contract is going to surpass Jackson Smith and Jigba. And it's probably going to be this year. So now that takes the top wide receiver contract to, let's say, $43 million. All right. So now we go into next offseason. Justin Jefferson's due a contract. Do you think he's going to reset the market? I would say yes. So now Justin Jefferson takes the average salary to $44 million. Then you have Terry McLaurin do a contract. Now, he's been fighting for a contract. They haven't given him one. But if he balls out this year, he's due another contract. I don't think he resets the market, but he makes the market stay where it is, 44 million. Then you got Devontae Smith. They just got rid of A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith is going to be their guy. They're going to have to make him one of the highest paid wide receivers because now he's their guy. They have nobody else. We don't know what Malachi Lemon is. I don't think he'll reset the market, but he's going to be another $44 million guy. Let me see if anybody else. Is there anybody else I think will reset the market? All right, so just going through that, we start off at 42, and Stephen White says Puka is in trouble and will not go over JSN level. I don't think that's considered trouble to stop him from getting paid. And also, this is the off season where nothing's going on and you haven't heard anything about it. Once football gets started and he goes out there and does what he does, and they pretty much swept this under the rug, and the Rams are my Super Bowl favorite, if they go to the Super Bowl next year and Puka's the best receiver, you best believe he's resetting the market because Jackson Smith and Jigba just did it this year. So now we're at 43, 44, because I think Justin Jefferson is going to reset it too. And Jeff says not with McCarthy at quarterback. Well, I don't think McCarthy is going to be the starter. I think Kyler Murray is going to win that job. And I love that offensive scheme. That scheme makes stars. They made Sam Darnold look like a superstar. And I think he'll do it with Kyler Murray, who's a much better player. So I think Justin Jefferson gets back on track. So Justin Jefferson resets the market at 44. And then I think Devontae Smith will be up there 43, 44. Amon-Ra St. Brown is due a contract. Amon-Ra St. Brown may reset the market. So now you're at 44 and a half, 45. And then Jeff brings up the point, CeeDee Lamb will be coming up again. I don't think he'll get paid before Justin Jefferson or Amon-Ra St. Brown, though, Jeff. I think those contracts come early. So let's say everything I say happens. Puka Nacua gets paid, resets the market. Justin Jefferson gets paid, resets the market. Devontae Smith gets paid, settles the market. Now the market's at $45 million. That's to reset it. The top 5 contracts are $43 million. Lamb's going to be at least $43 million next year. And then, just like Jeff said, CD will be coming up again. So you can't pay Pickens 43 and then next year look at CeeDee Lamb and say, oh, you got to take less. And I think because of the number and the history, they're going to value CeeDee Lamb more than George Pickens. But yeah, even with the salary cap going up, it's hard to imagine that they pay 2 wide receivers $40+ million. And if they do, 2028 will be Dak's last year, and they'll just either retire, cut, or trade him, take that 1-year salary dump, and start over with 2 top wide receivers with a rookie quarterback. That's the only way that happens. But yeah, I think next year you got to cash George Pickens out. It's either Pickens or Dak to me. Yeah, Puka's getting paid. If Aaron Donald comes back and the Rams do what I think they'll do, I think the Rams are going to go 14-3, and they'll probably steamroll to the Super Bowl. And Puka's going to be the number 1 player on that team on offense. He's going to reset the market. I'm with you, Jeff. And I think Justin Jefferson, in that scheme with a decent quarterback, I think he's going to do enough to warrant another contract, another big contract. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Okay, but Stephen White, like you said, if Pickens stays, you can't keep Dak. Unfortunately, there's not enough money to spread around, even with the modified additions to salary cap, because you got to pay Quentin Williams. That contract's coming up. Yeah, a lot of money gonna have to be paid out in the next 2 to 3 years. But I can't see you having 2 $40+ million receivers, a 60+ million quarterback, and then a defensive tackle making another $30 million. That's a lot of your cap. If Pickens has the year I think he has, we're definitely getting 2 firsts. Teams will fight to give up 2 firsts for him. Bills will call, Ravens will call, AFC for Pickens. Absolutely. The Ravens are definitely going to be willing to give up 2 firsts for George Pickens next year. Now the Bills just got DJ Moore. They might be okay because that team is very reliant on the quarterback. But if DJ Moore wets the bed, you best believe they'll be willing to give up 2 firsts for George Pickens with a smile on their faces. So yeah, I'm 1,000% with you, Ice Cold Cowboy. Those 2 teams that are trying to win a Super Bowl will give up whatever it takes to fill in the one weakness that they both have, and that's wide receiver. They're going to be late first, but they'll give up 2 firsts happily. All right, so that's pretty much all I have for this week's show. You guys really brought in the comments as usual. Thank you for all the new people who joined us tonight. Let's see. Had a couple of names join us at the end. Saw the Eagles fan join us late in the show. We had another podcaster come in, join us for a second. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully we can link up soon. Jeff, Stephen White, Ice Cold Cowboy, Jack Meeker. Thank you guys for all your support. You guys really had some great questions and great comments tonight. So thank you for joining us. And once again, you can always join us every Wednesday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Next week, we'll be talking real football because training camp will be open. So we'll have some real football conversations. I may try to bring in a guest to take us into training camp. So be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, for those of you who have been watching, make sure you like this broadcast. Make sure you share it. Share it to your favorite Cowboys Facebook group. Let them know what we talked about. And also be sure to join us every Wednesday night, 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I appreciate everybody who joined us tonight. Thank you for those who left comments. Thank you for those who stayed and watched. And I see we got Amanda joining us late. So appreciate you joining us, Amanda. Always watching in the backgrounds. But as always, let's go Cowboys. Thank you guys. And I will see you next week.